All right, hey, welcome back. This is part 2 of our two-part videos on AFI 1-2, Commander's Responsibilities, and then now we're going to focus on the self-assessment program. One of the things we looked at in improving the unit was a robust self-assessment program that's called out in 1-2. And so what does robust mean? How does it happen? So if we talk about, and I asked you, I'll sit across the desk from you and said, hey, what are parts or elements of your self-assessment program? So I'm sure one of the first ones you would say is MICT. All right, so that is a tool that we can use for that. What else is part of your self-assessment program? Many times I hear SOT, status of training. That's good. That goes back to our leading people, and part of our responsibilities as a commander is to make sure we're doing that stuff. But what other things are part of your self-assessment program? What else can be done and taken in there? There are many things that are done every year in your unit that you get a report on. It's a one-pager, maybe two-page report that other people are doing jobs. For example, you get an annual fire department inspection. They come in and they give you a fire department inspection and they give you findings and deficiencies that you need to work on. Also, safety comes in and they do an inspection annually on your area and they give you a report on that as well. What are some other areas that you get annual inspections on in your unit? All right, we'll call stand eval. Maybe stand eval comes in and gives you an annual inspection as well as part of that information that's feed. Another one is a QA program. If your unit has a QA program, you probably get monthly feedbacks from QA. Maybe not always great, but you get monthly feedbacks from QA. So what are we talking about? We're talking about things to broaden your scope well beyond MICT that are part, as a commander, as a leader of your unit, you can use for self-assessment. And what these things are their funnels, right? They're funnels that go into your self-assessment program. So these things funnel into that as you find deficiencies. Because what we talk about over here is one of the requirements is to identify and fix deficiencies as improving the unit. So these things help you identify deficiencies. What are some other things? FSS comes in annually if you have an orderly room, and they do a SAV as well. Now we use the word SAV, we're not talking about like the IG term SAV where truly the A staff comes down and does a staff assistance visit, but this is internal to your wing or your air base if you are on a joint base or something of that nature that comes in. LRS comes in annually. If you have a HAZ locker or hazmat material, they'll come in and do a HAZ inspection on you as well. Also equipment inventory, right? So we talked about equipment over there in managing resources, but equipment inventory is something that's done every year, done annually at a minimum, or when custodians change over. So those are all things that we look at and that we see, that we get information from already. We get an annual SAV from the training. So you have an SOT, which is a monthly, is there a squadron or quarterly at a group, and then also you get an annual SAV from the wing training manager that again gives you deficiencies. So what do you do with all these deficiencies? These are things that are already happening, that you don't have to create anything new. But what do you do with those deficiencies to synthesize all that together to make data-driven decisions? So let me give you a suggestion. This is just a suggestion, but it's a good one. All right, so you can go into MICT and you can make a local checklist that says, does the squadron commander have an effective self-assessment program? And then in here, when these documents come in to you, these assessments from outside, you can put those in here. If there's deficiencies, now you have a single repository where you can synthesize those deficiencies. So if they come in as safety gives a deficiency, and you as a squadron commander think it's more important than just really quickly fixing it and it's done, but it's something you want to find maybe the root cause for, boom, you can drop it in the MICT and you can open up a deficiency all underneath this one checklist that says, does the squadron commander have an effective self-assessment program? So now you can have your flight or your section or your AMU go in there and give you a root cause. What is their fix plan? When do they think they're going to have it fixed? And you can track all that internally. This whole discussion has got nothing to do with the wing IG or the MAGCOM IG. This has got everything we're talking about in these two videos is talking about at the squadron level and down, and you monitoring and looking at that. So you take all this stuff that's funneling into you, you put it in MICT so you can track, right? It says, identify and fix deficiencies so you can track your deficiencies. And then we're doing all this to do one thing, or to a couple things. But we're doing all this, number one, to identify and track deficiencies, and number two, to look for blind spots. So what am I not looking at with all this stuff is looking? Or what do I need to go back, maybe, let's say LRS comes in and finds a lot of deficiencies in your hazmat, in your hazardous locker. So as a squadron commander, maybe you want to go back and revalidate that. You want to go back and make sure it's fixed. Your guys, you put it in McT, you've tracked it, they've said it's been fixed, so maybe you want to have WIT come in and do that. So you contact the wing IG to engage WIT to come in and look at for you. Or maybe you'll just use QA or something of that nature to validate, to verify that that fix is in place. So you come over here and you look for blind spots. And if you have blind spots, what are you as a squadron commander going to do to assess those blind spots? So let's talk about one specifically. That's kind of a hot topic, readiness. There's not really a MCT checklist at the squadron level that says, hey, are you ready for your readiness? So what are some things you can do to get ready for, to generate for readiness in your unit? Something as simple as a dog tag drag. How many of your people do not have dog tags? A lot of people, we used to have them in hard copy mobility folders. The majority of mobility folders have gone electronic now, which means there's nowhere to hold dog tags. Dog tags are given back to somebody, and now do they have them or not? Have a dog tag drag. And all you need to do is do a quick memo that says this is what we did. On this date, we did this. 50% of our squadron, all of our squadron, this certain flight or whatever, did a dog tag drag, and this is what we found. So your deficiencies you can then track in that local MCT checklist that you had from a readiness standpoint. What else? So we can look at dog tags. What else can we do? We could do recalls, right? So when's the last time you did a unit level recall? And you can get, something like you can look at two different ways. You could say, okay, let's contact everybody by phone. How long does it take to contact everybody? That's one data point. Or you could come in and you can begin a recall, an informational recall. Just in 2 hours, how much of my squadron can I get? Why is that important to you? Well, as a squadron commander, if it ever comes up, and it has from time to time, hey, we need to do this in 4 hours. How many of your people can you get? Well, you'll have a factual assessment that you've done, and you know, hey, in 3 or 4 hours, I can get 50, 60, 80% of my squadron into work because I can contact them, I can get a hold of them. What are some other things you can do? You can walk into your UDM's office one morning as the commander or the chief or whoever and go, hey, we were tasked with these UTCs, now put faces to spaces and tell me when you're done and see how long that takes. Then you can assess that and you can go through and look at, hey, this person wasn't medically qualified, but you put them in a slot. Again, things, if you feel the need, you can track your deficiency, but you're showing activity. So when you do these little activities, just a little quick one paragraph memo saying, hey, this is what we did, and then deficiencies can be found over here in your checklist that you want to do. So those are the kind of things that coalesce, and what we want to do is not create anything new, but we want to take credit for things that are already being done. We want to pull that information together to help us make data-driven decisions. We then want to look at what are our blind spots, what are we not looking at that we should, and the things that are higher risk, we start figuring out ways that we can assess those abilities and capabilities. Packing out your UTC. You can start this in phase one of that can be get your UTC equipment requirement, have your section, your shop, your branch, go in and put a green sticker on everything that is in that UTC, and there shouldn't be 2 green stickers on any piece of equipment. Because what you'll find out a lot of times is maybe you'll have 3 UTCs and each one of them requires 2 pieces of equipment, and you have 3 of them, and when somebody goes out and assesses the UTC, they go, oh, look at that, I have the 2 I need here. Oh, look at that, I have the 2 I need here. Oh, look at that, I have the 2 I need here. But in reality, you're 3 short. Because if all 3 of these UTCs were hit at once, you only have 3, you need 6, and so you're short. But that gets mixed, that gets lost in the mix. So you go in there and you just do a quick assessment. I know I've seen where a unit has done that and they've come up 162 pieces of equipment is short that they were not aware of just by looking at each individual UTC as they went through. Then you can take that to the next level, you can take that to the high school level, and then you can say, hey, let me pack out my UTC, work with the LRS commander and set up a time where you can do this from your squadron to that squadron and take the whole pack out process through JI. So you can pack your UTC requirement so your flight, your section, understands how to pack their UTC pallets, or whatever case, however you guys pack out. They know how to do the HAZ decks, they know how to do all that stuff, and it goes through the JI process. Now you have a way to assess your ability and your readiness. So those are all kind of things. So you can start spitballing and thinking, what are different things that I can do as a squadron commander? Because as a squadron commander, it's your responsibility to make sure your unit is ready to execute its mission. The wing comes in and tests your ability. The getting ready doesn't start with the wing exercise. That's your responsibility and that's your task. So these are some ideas. Again, this is just an idea, a TTP, a suggestion of how to get your arms around this blank sheet of paper you were given and say, hey, go develop a self-assessment program in your unit, because it is well beyond just MIG-T. If you got any questions, hit us up on our email account that we gave you, accigteam@gmail.com, and let us sound off and let us hear anything you have to say. Thanks.